Namaskar. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Indian AdGeek. This is episode number 8 and my name is Vishal Mehra. Today we are sitting down with someone who has built India's largest digital first agency. Meet Rohan Mehta, the CEO and mastermind behind FCB Kinnect and FCB 6 in India. But here's the plot twist. This is not your typical agency head story. Picture this. A successful IT professional decides to chuck it all and bootstrap a digital agency from his living room in 2011. Fast forward 14 years, tomorrow actually is the 14th birthday of the agency. And that same agency now commands a 600 plus strong army of connectors with blue chip clients to boot. But wait, there's more. This is the guy who made it to Campaign Asia's 40 Under 40, got FCB Kinnect ranked among India's top 10 creative agencies in the Cannes Lion Creativity Report, and somehow managed to grow his business by 38% last year. Talk about making advertising look easy when we all know it's glorified organized chaos. Rohan, welcome to the Indian AdGeek.
Hey Vishal, thanks for having me.
How did you and advertising happen, Rohan?
Vishal, I was in the US in 2011. I used to work at an IT company, and always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I was trying to apply this formula of what business I should be in. One that had tailwinds, one that didn't require a lot of money to do, and one that was not anything to do with engineering because I was a shit engineer. And at that point of time, I saw social media really picking up in the States. And as most trends,
Which year is this, by the way?
this is about 2010, 2011. And so one fine day, I quit my job, came back to India. I was engaged to Chandni at that point of time. And I decided to start up a social media company, which only later I found out is an agency. And that's how Kinnect began. And Chandni used to be from advertising. She had experience at JWT and Percept. So I said, what's better than one free employee on day one? Two. So that's how I got her to quit her job at that point of time. Then she and me got her best friend to quit her job. And that's how the agency began in September 15th, 2011. So not too far away from now.
You started Connect from scratch in 2011. What was that pivotal moment that made you take the leap into entrepreneurship? You were just talking about Chandni's background. Was that the only reason? And what's the story behind naming it Connect?
I think social media had the promise and the kind of growth that I felt was great to build a company on the backs of. It wasn't up to 2015 that we thought that this could become a serious business, because that's how long it took to become profitable. That's how long it took to become sizable enough to even earn us a little bit profit or pay us a salary at that point of time. But before that, there was just a lot of passion, a lot of want, a lot of hope into what we were doing, and just enjoying with the people that we were every single day that kept us going. From 2011 to 2015, I think it was a lot of work inward, where we just went online, Googled everything that we could possibly do, and everything that we've learned till today. And I think that remains even consistent with us right now is done through trial and error and through just figuring it out ourselves. And the first days were quite tough. We started charging only about 10,000 bucks for a whole month of service. It wasn't even enough to pay for coffee at that point of time, let alone pay salaries or anything beyond that. So passion surely had to fuel it every single day. But the pace at which the market was growing, and we've seen it, right, from 2% of advertising spends to now over 60-65% of the market, This is the dominant platform which advertising is built on today. And Social Connect at that point of time, which was the name that we started off with, had an interesting story. I think social was pretty straightforward because it was what we were in the backs of. But Connect, because it was about connecting with your kin, connecting with people who are like minded, clients, employees, the marketplace that believed in the power of digital, that believed in the power of digital to drive brands. So that's what Connect was about. And there was a smaller meaning, which was for the failed engineer in me, which had got to do with a bit of kinetic energy. So that momentum, that growth is what we brought into the organization.
So, from a bootstrapped startup to becoming India's largest independent digital agency before the FCB acquisition, and you were India's largest digital agency even before the acquisition, if I've done my research right. What were the key inflection points in this 14-year-old journey, Rohan? In fact, tomorrow, on 15th September, is your 14th anniversary, right?
That's it. I think the first most important inflection points was about a couple of years into our journey, where we realized the kind of impact that we wanted to have on our clients wasn't just possible through social media. And therefore, we built media capabilities in house because I truly believe that in the digital world, or in pretty much any world, media and creative should not be separated. In fact, that's the biggest disservice that we have done to the advertising industry, because one without the other is essentially no one taking responsibility for outcomes. And I think that's what clients want at the end of the day, which is, well, it's not the input, it's the outcome that matters at the end of the day. So that was the first strong realization. And while integration has been spoken about a lot in the last 5-6 years, this is what we've practiced and done as part of our DNA all the way from 2013. The second was a very strong realization that the kind of work that clients look at agencies for today is changing pretty much every 6 months, every year, every couple of years. And the kind of capabilities that they're looking for to drive their marketing and advertising outcomes are changing. So we decided at that point of time that we're going to build a lot of capabilities in-house. And every couple of years, we're going to figure out what is the most relevant thing to build, which can also become a strategic add-on to our creative and media capabilities. And so we started building those capabilities in-house, whether it be SEO, tech, production, influencer marketing, CRM, CX, and so on. And it's our ability to constantly evolve what the agency looks like, not only internally within the organization, but externally, the services and solutions that we provide to our clients. That ability of finding out what's next, building that capability, integrating it into the system, and then providing it as a consistent solution to all our clients. That has been a real fuel for our growth over all these years. That's the internal part of it. The external part of it is we've always believed think long term, act short term. What I mean by that is that all the relationships that we build, whether it's with our partners, with our tech partners, and so on, these are all long-term relationships that we try to build. So we're not trying to become extremely successful in the short term as an agency, but we're trying to really invest into building success over the long term. But we are very, very passionate and very agile in the short term. And that kind of thought process allows us to really get compounding outcomes both for the client and the agency
So
over
does
a
that
period of time.
mean you try and get those, even if those are small early wins in the short term, just to gain that momentum in that relationship early on? Is that what you meant?
It's a bit of a bunch of things. It is first not trying to earn everything for ourselves in the very short term. We want to provide value And our partners like eventually investing more with us because we gain their trust, and we gain the kind of outcomes we are driving for them over a period of time. So we might start off pretty small with one project, one retainer, one service, and then basis the kind of investment we have into building the relationship, automatically they add on more services, more work, more capabilities within the system, which eventually drives a bigger outcome for the agency. And it is driving a bigger outcome for the client because it's happening so sequentially, and they're doing it as they gain trust within the agency itself. So that's really the fuel for the growth.
FCB's acquisition of Kinnect was reportedly valued at $36.6 million, if I remember reading it right. One of the significant deals in the overall Indian advertising space. You initially had a partnership with FCB starting in 2020. Then a stake acquisition happened in 2021. And finally, the majority acquisition in 2023 by FCB. Walk us through that decision making process. What made FCB the right partner? I had Rohit Ori on the show last month, and like I was telling you during our phone call, very, very appreciative of the work you and Chani did with the agency. Tell me about that decision making process from your perspective, Rohan.
Rohit has been such a great supporter of Kinnect's journey. And if I had to tell you in extremely short, 90% of the decision was basis Rohit. But if I have to give you the longer answer, I don't know if Rohit mentioned it. We went through a phase of dating, then a live-in, then engagement, and then marriage. So we followed the long courtship as how Gen Z likes today. Very different from how I got married. It happened very quickly in my case. But I think some of it was got to do with the fact, the longer courtship was got to do with the fact of we wanted to make sure that we are invested in this relationship in the long term. I think when you reach that size and scale, which Kinnect had got to, we had pretty much everyone in the country who had thrown us an offer, and all offers could be up or down 5-10% here or there. And frankly, the final monetary outcome of that 10-15% might not make such a difference for Chandni and me, but the kind of people that we work with every single day would make a big impact on how happy we would be win that marriage and how successful we could make that marriage in the long term. And therefore, a longer courtship really made that happen. Some of it was designed, some of it was also forced by the pandemic. This would have all happened much faster had the pandemic not been there. But I think the pace of the deal slowed down at that point of time, which eventually has worked to all of our advantage because I think we just got longer time to get to know each other. And I feel that in extremely tough situations, great relationships are formed. And Rohit and us got to talk through the pandemic, see what FCB was doing, what Kinnect was doing at that point of time. Then as soon as the pandemic lifted up, they bought a minority stake, which then kept stepping up year on year, and then moved into a majority stake, and then it's been progressing forward out there. When we had opportunities of pretty much all the networks on the table, IPG really stood out to us for one very specific reason, that they had only done one acquisition in this space in a long period of time, which was Interactive Avenues, which was about 2013. So IPG is not a very acquisitive network, unlike a lot of the other networks, and they seem to be more invested. And now I can say through experience, they are very invested into making the organization, the founders, extremely successful within the network itself. So that was one thing that stood out. The second one is, for having McCann, Lintas, FCB, three legacy agencies within it, it didn't have an integrated new age digital first setup as part of the group. While most of the other competitors would have already done a few acquisitions outside of interactive avenues, which is largely aligned with media brands, there was a white space that I found open. And contrary to my initial thoughts, I thought I would vibe with the most new age organizations. While that would be similar to my vibe, but my ability to contribute to an organization, to FCB, would be much more. So we chose the place that we could have the largest impact. We also chose the place where we saw people staying there and having long careers. When we met Rohit, Rohit had been in the organization about 6 7 years, but the entire leadership had been there maybe 25 30 35 years. You have people like Shashi, who's been there well, close to 40 years, maybe above 40 years, Nitin, who had been there 38 years, Savita with 30 plus years, and so on, which showed that this is a cultured place. It gave us the feeling that we will learn a lot around these people. So and then you need a chaperone, a big-hearted person like Rohit, who went out to say that this is going to be a marriage of equals. This is um, not one directing the other. Um, and and I think Carter at that point of time, and Tyler, the global CEO today, also echoed the fact that make us like you. Bring that energy, that positivity, that intensity into the organization. These kind of conversations require extremely magnanimous, future focused, comfortable in their own skin to actually tell someone who would be half their age, maybe they're, a few years older than their son, to say that this is a marriage of equals. So that feeling of that we'll be taken care of and we'll be respected, and it's not our age, but it's what we bring to the table that really matters. I think that's what drove our excitement and interest towards FCB, and it's been such a fantastic relationship. And I think it's not me. I think the market sees it today as probably one of the biggest success stories in this space, because we know that acquisitions aren't easy. It's not a P&L game. It's a cultures game. It's a people game. And we've seen more go wrong than go right. And so when one goes right, it becomes very evident to not only the people that are experiencing it, but the external market also.
Yeah, like you said, very evident, and you get to know. In fact, Tyler Turnbull, FCB's global CEO, had mentioned that the momentum FCB experienced across India has been exceptional since the partnership began. What specific synergies have driven this success?
Tyler has been a fantastic support for the growth at Kinnect, and um, I think we enjoy the relationships of a professional relationship and a personal relationship as a friend outside of it. Also, Tyler is a few years older than me, the youngest network CEO in the world, essentially, and therefore we have lots in common outside of work also. I think the 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 kind of capabilities that exist in Kinnect today, outside of creative, really help power and make a more complete solution for what we offer to our clients. And we've seen that happen with the Tata Motors, with the TVS, with a whole bunch of other clients, where we've managed to marry the best of both worlds. And eventually, when the client gets both the agencies on board, they get way more than the sum of the parts. Most clients had reached a place where they would have, you know, between 2016, 17 and between 2021 or so, everyone had a specialist for everything, right? A SEO specialist, a performance specialist, and a digital specialist agency, and a social media agency, and your mainline agency, and so on. And each CMO really was proud of the fact that they had 12 different agencies in front of them, and like extreme specialists out there. But the reality of the market became that while they had all of these 12 domain and subject matter expert specialists, um, all of them are telling them that they are doing a great job, but in the pandemic everyone was having a tough time. And this is true of business even today, right? Business hasn't been easy over the last few years. um, and so from fragmentation to consolidation uh, is what a client was also looking for. Fewer partners taking bigger responsibility and providing end-to-end solutions through a singular strategy. And that's what this partnership really brings to the table. And that's what it's enabled for, well, the clients, and therefore it eventually shows up as, success within the business. Also, the synergies really show up really well.
And you have emphasized on building India's most modern marketing partner with platform agnostic ideas. Is that what you were referring to just now with your client servicing approach? Basically, giving the most integrated solution to your clients?
One of the benefits I've had by not coming from advertising or not having any background to advertising is we built it with the ways that it makes most sense to us in the realities of the landscape today. And the reality of the landscape today is that advertising is one of the things that a client is looking for. Marketing is a much broader term in that sense. And while the world and the industry puts us in different buckets on different days, they'll call us a creative agency, a digital agency, a media agency, an influencer agency, and so on. Because you'll put it into the memory structures that are most familiar to you. But in my head, it's very clear that we're trying to be the most modern marketing partner to our clients. And in that sense, whatever becomes relevant in the industry, which will drive the client's brand or business growth, those will be the capabilities that we will try to integrate and provide to the clients in-house for them. And so by its shape, Kinnect is a ever evolving organization, one that is never romanced with how we were successful yesterday or how we were successful today. Because what's relevant right now might not be relevant 6 to 12 months from now. We are going through one of the biggest, shifts in the industry with AI that we have seen. And therefore, this coining of wanting to be the most modern marketing partner to our clients kind of encompasses that whatever is the most modern way to drive business value or brand value is what we are going to try and provide in an integrated fashion to them. And so yes, that does speak to a lot of what we're doing today, and that's also gives you an indication of how we will keep changing, not only today but as times come and as things change. We will be very agile to adapt to that change.
HDFC Bank, Asian Paints, Flipkart, Lenovo, Amazon, Tata Motors, like we were just talking about, SBI. Your client roster is full of blue chip names, right? How do you balance working with global brands and still having some local market nuances, Rohan?
We're in the age of deep globalization right now. I think it's um, and while it's early stages, and the signs are pointing towards that, and it's not the most exciting from my perspective, but I think that's the reality that we live in right now. And local markets, local nuances, local insights, local marketing, local understanding becomes the most important thing out there. um, all the brands that we work with, the work is very steeped into um, the realities of the India market, but also the realities of the micro markets that they are a part of. When we take cues from international campaigns, we take directions from international product direction, but the communication, the marketing that we try to provide is completely nuanced into what is happening into the culture scape and of India itself. So um, the imagery might be international in nature, at times, because India's aspiration has really grown. Middle India's aspiration has really grown. So it's premium, and might have a younger flavor to it, a more easier to consume. And you've seen that with the work that we do in the banking space. It really tries to make banking accessible to millennials and Gen Z, because that's when you make your choices. And that's the truth of India, is that that's the part of the demographic that is uh, in high scale and that has the spending power. So those are the things that we keep in mind when we're trying to design campaigns for these clients.
As part of my research for this show, I was reading Kinnect specializes in the three C's: creative campaign communication, content production, and creator communities. How does this framework differentiate you in pitches?
I think it's a combination of this approach and being truly integrated, what differentiates us in pitches. People are saying power of one PNL, lots of different things, but it's usually five different CEOs with five different agendas, which on paper they have put together as a singular proposition to the clients. So in more cases than not, this is lip service rather than what's happening in terms of real execution, or it's what shows up in a pitch but does not translate into reality. We are one. That's as clear as it gets. It's a singular leadership with a singular team, which is the brain, which is account management, client servicing, strategy, and creative are singular. And then we've got subject matter experts of media, influencers, CRM, CX, SEO, tech, and online reputation management that feed into this singular brain that works for clients, that really differentiates us. So we don't try to solve all brand problems through communication. That is our biggest differentiator. One day we might be solving it through performance media. The other day we will be solving it through, well, offline media and print and a big bang TVC. And a whole different day we might think of a tech solution on it, and sometimes it's just reputational management that you need to do. The power of coming at a problem through a variety of different ways is what really differentiates us from our competition. Our competition more than often tries to solve the problem through a campaign, or a film, or some kind of communication, and therein lies the fallacy of what is not, I would say, the most relevant in the market and the times right now. And that is the biggest strength and differentiator that Kinnect brings to the table in any single pitch that we've been part of, or the relationships that we have been growing and nurturing over many years.
Rohan, can you walk us through a big client win and what differentiated your pitch in a crowded marketplace for that one?
A good one to talk about is SBI Bank. That's been a massive win for us. Although it's a year back, but it's an interesting one because people always assume with being a new age agency, we will go after a lot of new age brands. And it feels like the funded startups, the international brands, so the youth focused brands are the ones that we go after. But weirdly enough, it is the legacy brands that stick with us and that we find the largest connect with. And the reason that happens, is that most legacy brands are trying to look more new age. Kinnect makes these brands look cooler, younger, sharper. And I think that's what really played out in the SBI Bank pitch. And it was a integrated pitch across creative, media, ORM. We have a 27-person team that is deployed onto it today. And you would see a lot of the communication is in fact extremely new age, because the chairman is got a very digital vision, and so has the entire marketing team and so on. So contrary to how we might be positioned or how the external world might position us. It's in fact the most legacy of brands that we add a lot of value to, and it's been so much fun working with SBI Bank, um, because they are very clear about the fact. In fact, last couple of years we've been on IPL, and it's been 100% digital spend and exposure that they focused on. And they said, and our talk to them was very simple, that everyone who's on TV and on print already knows of SBI. It's the younger people that see SBI in a particular light that need to be shown that SBI's technology, SBI's customer service is as good as any other bank today. Um, and that was one of the core reasons that we won the pitch. And it's a brand that we thoroughly enjoy working with.
Yeah, it's a big one indeed. In the last couple of years, have you noticed any changes in the process of acquiring new clients? Anything in particular you have noticed clients are looking increasingly more for? For example, the path to pitch is certainly much shorter. From weeks, we have gone down to few days now, and that happens quite often.
I think everyone is rethinking their partnerships to make sure that they are getting the most value for the time, and the money that they invest into those partnerships. So we are surely seeing more pitches than ever before. The biggest change that I have seen is that, which is also in line with how Kinnect has moved as an agency, is we moved from digital only to digital first to now integrated on creative. And the biggest change that I've seen is that every brand is asking for digital first creative, irrespective of whether it's a brand pitch or a digital pitch or so on. So we've been talking about it since a while. Now I see it as part of every single brief, which is mainline in nature, and therefore plays to a lot of the strengths of Kinnect and how we move from digital first to integrated creative. Because this is now 65% of what a client really invests into. So we're seeing that as a big focus. We're also seeing projects become more commonplace, because people are wanting to try out those partnerships and see what is there in the pitch translating into reality before they move into long-term commitments with agencies. So I do see that happening more often. And while we are always in it for the long game with our clients, we understand that they could have been affected or sometimes also not had the best of experiences where things which are promised don't translate in the best nature, and therefore want to have that courtship period before they move into a long-term relationship with the agencies. The pace of things, Vishal, I agree, has become faster, but it's going to get faster and faster from here on, because that's how the world is becoming. We've seen, Moore's law used to say that things will change at a particular pace of time. Now with AI, things are changing even faster. So yeah, I think the pace is not really clients or our partners. It's the nature of the world that we live in today. It's a fast changing world. It's a fast evolving world. People are looking for those answers. People are also looking for agility and hunger from the kind of partners they're in. One of the recent ones that we happened to win was a massive pitch with pretty much everyone in the whole country participating in it. But we turned it around in 4 days. And it's not the expectation I want to build for my clients, but it's also, and I don't want to put my team through that all the time, but sometimes that's the requirement. Sometimes that is what you require to do. And that shows the client how hungry you are and how quickly you can put your creative muscle together, because research also does not take the same amount of time as it did. We have tools at our disposal that allow us to be there, and clients are also way more equipped with information, insights, and knowledge about their brand than they had in earlier days. So I see this not being a trend and becoming in a norm that people want faster turnaround times for them from their agencies.
Then that leads me perfectly to my next question. What's your philosophy on building long lasting client relationships in an industry like ours known for high churn?
True investment and partnership. Uh, as we keep saying this within the organization, which is if you want to be called a partner, then you need to build a partner and not see it as a client. And if you're a partner, then you are truly invested into their problem every single day. Um, you are trying to think of things which they are not even sending you in a brief. You're trying to preempt needs. You're trying to um, uh, eh, see. We are in business, and you are going to monetize a lot of things, but a lot of times you are thinking ahead of time for them. So I think people. I truly believe this is people don't hear the words you say. They see the actions you do, and they feel the emotions you feel. And when there is a true want um, to genuinely grow the client's business, the partner's business, and then that comes through. It comes through in the work, it comes through in your body language, and then it eventually comes through in how you get remunerated and the kind of the length of those relationships. And everything, very traditional Gujarati roots, and that has always treated us that we don't deal with a very heavy hand. We deal with a softer hand. There's a lot of trust, whether it comes to uh, our people and our partners. So though that softness in our way of working is always comes through, and that's what brings a lot of stickiness into those relationships. And we don't get everything right. There are hundreds of things that we're delivering on, and we make mistakes. This is a human business. We make mistakes, but when the partner knows that you're as deeply entrenched into their business as them, they they give you a lot many more chances to correct them. And sometimes they don't see it. In fact, like they say that, let's do this together, because you can't you if you're getting everything right, then you're not trying hard enough. um, it's only when you're trying to push outside of the envelope that you will make mistakes, and that's when you need these strong relationships to really rely on. So we fewer, bigger, better, wider, deeper relationships is what we are always looking for. And thankfully that happened when we were charging 10,000 bucks as a retainer, and that happens even today. And I'm so glad that 4 years into that philosophy came to life and it started paying back for the company. But it started with just a strong belief, and that belief became a reality, and that's the reality we live in consistently.
Another perfect segue coming up. I was reading FCB Connect recorded a 38% business growth in 2024. Which three strategic levers, be it AI powered tools, content studios, or performance marketing hubs, do you think had the biggest impact? And, before our conversation, I must admit I wasn't completely aware how big Connect is actually in media. So that's been an eye opener for me as well. And finally, what's your revenue mix like right now?
I think the biggest impact has come to our business model coming to life. We are always trying to predict what is going to be the client's need couple of years from now. And last year's success is really that. We, in fact, 80% of our growth last year came from organic growth, which is testament to the business model more than any specific singular capability as such, or great new business prowess.
So
Uh,
I'm sorry, that means upselling to current clients or references from current clients?
It doesn't mean references from current clients. It means more work, either more capabilities or deeper work with current clients.
Fantastic. Wow.
80% of it was that. While last year, if I might say, was probably one of the hardest years in the industry. In fact, when I spoke to most of my peers and competitors, it was a tough year. Kinnect was a complete anomaly because of that. So it wasn't a whole ton of new clients. It was clients that we've had, the relationship that we've nurtured over many years that decided to invest more with us, decided do to invest more in the capabilities that we already had, entrenched within them. That was really the success of last year. And when I say truly integrated, our revenue mix will give you a sense of that. Only 35 to 40% of our revenue comes from core creative services as what the industry sees as creative. 60% of it comes from media, influencer, CX, CRM, SEO, and production. So, and that's what clients want, that you are providing lots of things at different times basis that need. For a fashion based client, influencer marketing, almost we put more money on the influencer assets than we put on the core brand asset. For for a lot of auto, the mid funnel is so important because there are so many options. So you're driving preference and consideration, and that's why you're spending a lot of time and effort within that. So investments vary from client to client across capabilities, but as a agency, there's a very healthy mix across all our services and capabilities that show up both to our clients, and that's what makes us also extremely resilient, because we're not dependent on any one thing, right? Like we have a studio space in our office itself, which we built in the pandemic, which we built right before the pandemic. So when the want for content grew, where you couldn't just have one or two big brand pieces in the year, we developed a lot of that in-house. We shot that across green screens in the pandemic. Of course, now that's not the case, but that wish and want to constantly not be at loggerheads with the reality of the market, which is if production budgets are dropping, we'll find the right solutions in those budgets. We're not like the ones that keep complaining that, oh, the market has changed, oh, the heydays were behind us, and so on. We love change. We even like the fact that AI is coming into the market. And every time such drastic changes happen, that's the time where Kinnect gains the most market share ever, because we love running fast when changes come, and we don't spend time being deer in the headlights seeing, oh man, what has happened. We want to quickly grab onto it and pivot ourselves into that new reality, so that as the client's budgets and needs move, we are already well positioned to capture that interest. And I think was said so nicely in the F1 movie is that you can't gain 15 positions in great conditions. It's only when it's raining that you can actually gain positions. And so every time it's a tough time or a big change in the industry, that's the time when I get most excited, and I literally channelize the whole agency into that direction, and we try to take advantage of it.
We were just talking about influencer marketing. You've mentioned moving from tactical influencer campaigns to creating influencer ecosystems. What does this ecosystem approach look like in practice?
Influencer marketing has become so important for pretty much all brands. Even B2B has got onto influencer marketing in a big way, right? And we see this in we see this in the investments, we see this in enough releases. You saw Himalaya talk about it yesterday, you see Unilever talk about it. We have all of the auto industry. Fashion, of course, was early adopters onto this space all
And
the way
by the
from.
way, you're not seeing any slowdown, any no sign of people now looking at few other things. You're still seeing higher spends on influencer going ahead.
100%, 1,000%. It is, according to me, still one of the most underpriced creative and media assets, where you get both at one time in the industry, right? We started an influencer desk all the way in 2017, 2016, 17, probably the first influencer desk in a captive influencer desk at an agency, and today the largest one in the country. And I don't see the spend slowing down. I see the direction of spends changing, and that's what you were asking about. Earlier, we used to use influencers more tactically to activate the brand. Very early days was just amplifying the core brand campaign and so on, right? But now there are year-long strategies that we put together for our clients. Every industry has key opinion leaders that need to be part of a whole bunch of their launches. You'll also have non-industry specific opinion leaders that drive action within that industry that need to be activated at different points through the year. So gone are the times where you have a creative campaign, the master film is ready, and then now they say, okay, show me an influencer leg to it. Now we're going backwards from brand goals on a year-long basis. Where are the markets we have issues in? What are the product problems that we are driving? What are the new launches that we are after? And it's planned over a 12-month period. These relationships are long-term in nature, so they don't only show up within the brand assets. We try to integrate those product into the influencers' lives. We want to get much deeper investment from both sides, from the brand and the influencer within the scheme of things. And we've got a whole bunch of things from spikes to always on, to respond to a particular situation that gets captured in this year-long AOP that we do for our clients. So yes, the number of influencers have grown like crazy. In fact, everyone will call themselves an influencer today and is an influencer in their own right. So the quality and the depth of your knowledge in a particular space does matter a lot as an influencer. And so within our choosing and within our relationships, when we are building them out, that really does matter a lot. But from a client standpoint, we're looking at their outlays for a period of a whole year, and then we are going backwards from their brand problems to create the strategic influencer interventions.
So pretty much long-term planning. About 15 minutes back, we were talking about how some clients and industries need quicker, agile work and results. I'm going to your HDFC Bank campaign that won at Cannes.
The campaign that won at Cannes took about 3 or 4 months to develop, but it's part of a larger campaign, Vigilante, which tackles financial fraud, which is just growing leaps and bounds in our country as a long-term problem.
My question was going to be, how do you balance the need for patient, strategic creativity with clients' expectations for quick results? How do you counsel them in that scenario?
There are certain problems that become part of a brand's journey, like this one, financial frauds. The largest private sector bank in the country had to take a strong stand out there and not only do a campaign as awareness, but really get invested into it absolutely long term. And therefore, we've been building it out over a period of 3.5 years now and counting. And it comes across so many different platforms, all the way from WhatsApp to outdoor, digital, podcasts, and so on and so forth. Um, those are the ones that we take a lot of time to think on, because they're not only solving a need, they're also building equity and adding back to the brand over a period of time. There are certain things which do require shorter term outcomes, like a launch, because you will have that in the tech category, the auto category, often enough, where results in the short term are extremely important, and results during that time are really important. We balance this entire thing by making sure that the relationships are all long term. The needs could be long term and short term, varying on the brand problem that we're trying to solve. But at least when we are invested in the long term, we make sure that we are clear on both sides, which things that we are going to look at KPIs in a much longer period of time, and certain things that we're going to look at KPIs in a shorter period of time. Having said all of this, every single brand today wants results right now, right? Because that is how the market is. That is um, buying sentiment only in the absolute top of luxury continues to keep growing, but all other segments keep going through ups and downs as the markets change, as policies change, and so on. Um, and this is more a philosophy of FCB, which has translated so well into Kinnect, which is timeless brand and timely outcome. Things that we do which invest, this is a part of the FCB philosophy, and it says that we will build a timeless brand and we will drive timely outcomes. And timely outcomes get driven by a lot of the mid funnel and the bottom funnel that we do, everything from performance media to CRM, which is largely going after audiences which are already known to the client, um, through influencer marketing and so on. That's what drives timely outcome. And timeless brand is through the big brand campaigns that we invest over years of time, which add back to the brand and eventually drive those outcomes for the brand.
Rohan, I want you to take out your crystal ball and tell me, where do you see FCB Connect in the next 5 years, and where do you see FCB Connect positioned in the Indian advertising landscape? Your goal of becoming the most modern marketing partner in the world is ambitious and by now well known as well. What specific capabilities are you building to achieve this vision?
The vision of being the most modern marketing partner in the world is a vision that we can always keep moving towards, and we can fulfill and we can never fulfill, essentially, and therefore that's a long term vision. But in the next 5 years, what we aspire for ourselves is to be the number one agency in the country, period. Not as a creative agency, not as a media agency, not as a digital agency, and so on, just the number one agency in the country. And I think that's absolutely possible, because if in 14 years we now compete with the best of the best in the country, and more often than not we are winning, we're on the winning side of things. um, I think most of my contemporaries and my peers didn't get the opportunity to get to this stage where the platforms that we built our businesses on became the primary platforms on which, um, success was determined, and yeah, brands largely were built on. And so we have that unique opportunity, and I think we are so squarely positioned right in the center of making that position into a reality, right? The whole market is talking about integration. This is something we've been doing since a very long time. The whole market is talking about digital first. That's where we were born. The whole market is talking about faster, more agile solutions. That is the DNA of the organization. After having all of this, if there is no lesser goal that I can chase for, other than being the number one agency in the country, period. And that's what we go after. When it comes to capabilities that we are building to make that happen, the capability that we've built largely is the fact that externally we are an advertising and marketing agency. Internally, we are a learning and development company. That's true to us. And that never changes. That is the core capability that has existed then, exists today, and will exist 5 years from now, which will allow us to go towards our goal of being the most modern marketing partner and to be the number one agency in the country. Right now, as we speak, the thing that we are invested in the most is no surprise. It is Gen AI. That's what I spend a large majority of my time in, um, because I think it's the largest singular change that we have witnessed till now. We built our business in the digital world, or in the change that came in through social and digital, and now the change that is coming in is Gen AI. And essentially, I feel the entire industry is going to have to rethink itself from first principles. We can't try to just evolve ourselves to this change. We have to absolutely imagine a whole new structure and a whole new system that makes sense in this reality. Um, and I don't think it's out there to replace human creativity. I value that too much. I value the relationships, that we build, and the trust that we build so much between our partners. But there is a need to fundamentally change the models in which we operate. And so that's what we are spending a lot of our time on today.
You just mentioned number one, Rohan. But number one in what sense? In revenue, in creative excellence, in the bouquet of services that you will provide to your clients, in the number of clients itself?
Actually, it's all three, right? Um, I think as an entrepreneur, number one in revenue becomes a big goal. As a person who's building an external brand, number one through reputation really matters. And the one that matters to me most as an individual is number one in culture. These are the three areas which we are trying to change, to chase to become number one. Um, because intrinsically, extrinsically, and through or objectively, those are the ways that we would quantify and qualify that we've got to that stage.
What's your opinion of artificial intelligence in our business? Friend or foe? How do you think it'll change our business? I had Kunal and Shantan from Animal on the last show, and one of the things they mentioned was human taste and its importance in the future of advertising. Will we like that piece of work? Will we categorize that as lazy marketing? A large majority of consumers will be able to figure out if a brand is doing work solely with AI, like we have just seen with a prominent watch brand. Not exactly completely AI, but the use of AI wasn't so very well done. I'm curious to know your take on all of this.
As I told you, I am a proponent of change, and I absolutely get excited when new things come in, and therefore there is no doubt in my mind that this is a friend. This is a friend that might need regulation, that might need some molding and direction, but that's any new thing in this world. When it comes to how I see Gen AI play out, and I think if there's anyone that tells you that they have the blueprint of how it will play out, I think they're all lying, right? Because when you go to the Sam Altman and Elon Musk, they are still figuring it out every single day. I think it's our job to also figure it out by being in the trenches and then adapting to it more organically as it develops itself. So that's the blueprint a bit. But one of the things that I have seen is that the bleeding edge of human creativity, the top spectrums of it, have to still remain extremely human, supported through AI and technology. And I think that's what gets debated a lot within the advertising industry, that how will it capture human emotion, and how will it actually show me multiple scenes and this and that and whatnot. I said, wo chhod do. वो वाली बात we will leave to, writing on a piece of paper and still doing it through hand and so on. But there's a whole spectrum of work. We have large studios that just adapt and localize communication. We have whole bunch of things that we do in the agency. I manage close to 600 people today, that that frankly are not high creativity, that are good operation, good process, good delivery, and so on. So bottom up, start looking at AI. All the people that are, I would say, pessimist towards AI are trying to attack it from the most complex use cases. And I said, leave the complex use cases aside. Find the simplest of use cases that are done repeatably in your organization, that can be done through a workflow and through a process, and start using Gen AI to use that. And that will probably be 60-65% of what any agency delivers right now. And that could get replaced, and not completely replaced, but significantly enhanced and changed in the terms of man force through the utilization of Gen AI. And so, very loosely put it, I would say that I would see it as, scaled creative, which is the top minds in your organization, bespoke problem solving, which is the things that will still require extreme human creativity, might get slightly embellished or enhanced through AI, and you still will go and produce it in the same ways that you were doing in the past. Certain aspects might be done faster through using the technology, but largely it's more or less the outcomes that we were always used to today. And that's about human emotion, human nature, and we'll capture it in a particular way. But you see the rest of the organization as scaled creative or scaled services part of the organization, which is agents and people interacting with each other, and clients interfacing with people at our end, and those people being able to interface with agents, which are point solution agents for specific tasks that we do every single day. So I think that's the part that we need to be really focused on. I am not to comment on whether it's taste or not, because I don't think that today we should try to utilize Gen AI in that extreme manner. In most cases, we will have tons of things, from writing minutes of the meeting to a weekly report, to adapts or to basic performance creatives, which are not only done faster, but they're almost done better through utilization of technology.
And my final question to you, Rohan: what advice would you give to young people joining our industry?
To come with a strong learning mindset, and to really explore and experiment a lot, not try to find things that are already done, but to try and create the new, learn through trial and error. And I think that's served me really well, and so that's the advice that I would pass on to everyone else. I think certain brand principles were true in the past, will remain true today, and will remain true even 20 years from now. But it's the learning mind, it's the adapting mind, that is really going to be ahead of the curve at any point of time in our industry.
Thank you, Rohan. It's been a wonderful chat. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so very much.
Vishal, I've had a great time spending time with you on this Sunday. Thanks for being such a fantastic host, and thanks for having me. Have a good weekend.
I loved Rohan's passion for this business and the business he, along with Chandni, they have built in a decade and a half. Takes a special unit. Next Sunday, it will be the turn of the Indian AdGeek, and that will be episode number 50. And boy, do we have a special guest for you. The CEO of One World, Nat Piper, will be on the show. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might enjoy it. The Indian AdGeek streams on all major podcast apps. I'm at Vishal Van Mehra on X. Until next time, keep your creative antennas tuned and your AdGeek flag flying high. Stay quirky, stay curious, and keep geeking out.